Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's an Ozicar Tin Top Cup special Enduro event from Mount Panorama in the Toyota GR86, and we're bringing you all of it here on SimSpeed TV. David Haynes with Daniel Yeaman, and at a circuit that needs so little introduction. It's Australia's greatest racetrack, home to some of the greatest racing, the most historic moments, and a real thrill and challenge for the drivers, especially in the conditions they're going to see today, Dan.
Sure will indeed, and I hope you're looking forward to it here, folks, for this first of a couple of endurance special events, as it were, for the Ozicar series this year in 2024. And starting off, indeed, at one of the most iconic circuits that we could possibly pick, at least when talking here, home in Australia. The Mount Panorama circuit will be the venue of choice, as it were, for our drivers, and, well, I bring up the track map as always, but yeah, there isn't much more that needs to be said about this place. It probably hasn't already been said on a SimC broadcast or two.
Yeah, for sure. 6.2 incredibly famous kilometres from the pit straight at the bottom of the hill, the 90-degree corners, the last and final and first corners of the lap. But the real challenge, of course, is between the concrete walls from Turn 2 Griffin's Bend all the way around over the top, over the skyline and down through the S's all the way to Forest's Elbow. And overtaking very often happens at the chase, the biggest braking zone of the lap. Qualifying is not far away from wrapping up before we get into the 1 hour 45 minute race. That graphic correctly says 10 minutes solo, but in fact they are all out there at the moment. Straight into the 1 hour 45 minute race, of course, from the grid. And you see some of the other things to expect there. A bit of weather, a safety car, and of course, one fast repair for these Toyota GR86s.
Yes, indeed. And whilst I quickly bring it up, just also what we're expecting in terms of the Tin Top Cup schedule for this season. Here today in the 86s at Mount Panorama. And then we'll be back in July at the Nürburgring. I don't have confirmation on exactly which layout we're running for the Nürburgring, but it will be there in Germany, and waiting on confirmation as to what car it will be as well. And then finishing off in December at Phillip Island for the third race of this Tin Top Cup schedule to come your way here this year. And just now waiting on the drivers to wrap up qualifying here before we can head to the grid, as the checkered flag has flown. But just now waiting for the last drivers to finish off their laps, as indeed, thanks to this open qualifying session, we do have ourselves, drivers still doing laps. Speaking of rain, David, here's a little hint of it on the forecast. And saying that, it's just going to eke in there.
It's going for jump scare, isn't it? It's gonna just pop up out of the corner and head towards the racetrack. Right, schedule time of the race getting underway.
Yeah, indeed. And also critically looking at it, if I'm looking at the zoom function that I can provide, if I presume the track orientation matches when we go from this zoomed out spot to this zoomed in one, that's telling me, David, this rain's going to come from across the top of the mountain first, and the drivers will get to it at McPhillamy Park, or maybe if they're lucky at Reed Park in the Great when they first hits.
Yep, you can see it beyond the top of the mountain, and you'll soon see the drivers getting ready for the race start. An hour 45 on the clock, a Ford Mustang for the safety car, but we have a beautiful looking grid for the first race of the Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup, and on the pole position in the wet conditions, Dylan DeBono from Ewan Baker, who will start alongside on the front row. Tom Freer and Brady Baldwin are the next row, and Matthew Pluck and John Merritt the row behind that. Then we got Shane Ratcliffe and Sam Chapman, Hayden Kirk and Luke Turner as the top 10. Douglas Gowans and Nathan Norman behind that. Then Sean Doyle and Alina Dan. And Joshua Barry, Daniel Fritz, Ryan Carlson, Dennis Hancock, Mark Bowman and Leon Williams as the top 20. Most drivers qualified on the wet tyres. A few chanced it on the dry tyres, hoping it'd clear up and they'd get some temperature in. But I'm not sure they did. So down the end of the field here, we might find a few drivers a little out of position. John Snell, Lachlan Thomas, Jamie Christian, Ben Faulkner, Adrian Duke, and Joseph Parkinson to 26th there. Then Caleb Dawson, Ben Miles, Tony Baker, Ryan Price, Ira Felberg, Peter Wilkinson, Jordan Dakin, and Jacob Vickery, 34 Toyota GR86s. And in a second, I'll be able to tell you what tyres they're all on because the sun is out right now. There is a dry line out there, but we have seen that radar and we can see in the sky it's coming.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I'm curious to see, who goes early, who goes late, or whether they're going to get a gamble here on dries to start out with. That certainly will make a difference. So looking forward to how this goes. Had a chance to run some actually wet to dry racing myself literally earlier today. Actually went dry to wet and now it went back dry after I got out of the car, actually, David. So a little familiar in some respects there with some changing weather now, but it certainly also made for some fun stuff last up with the ANZ E-Series GT3 National Championship as well, with a dry to wet race there, as well as our pace car will pull off and we get ready to roll here under the control of Dylan DeBono at the front.
Yep, that's our pole sitter. I'm trying to see if I've got this correct. Your top 5 on wet tyres. John Merritt in 6th on dry tyres. Perhaps Luke Turner in 10th on dry tyres. Most of the field on the wet tyres right now. There is water down, there is spray, there is more rain coming. But keep an eye perhaps on John Merritt and Luke Turner inside of the top 10. They might go backwards quickly. The graphic agrees with where I'm getting my data from as well. So hopefully that's the truth and that's the fact. It's an hour 45 on the clock. Green flag waiting for them at the start-finish line. Get us going for the Tin Top Enduro Cup from Ozicar in 2024. Here comes the green flag. Dylan DeBono's on the inside, on the wet tyres. Ewan Baker alongside him on the wet tyres. And some of the drivers on the dries are dropping backwards already. 3 wide towards turn number 1. A big dive on the wet tyres down the inside there from Tom Freer. Does he have the traction off the exit? Where is the traction in these conditions? Side-by-side drag racing up Mountain Straight.
Here we go once again at the mountain, but this time in some slightly treacherous conditions as they try and navigate their way around Hell Corner and up Mountain Straight for the first time. But it will be Freer who gets the nose ahead of Ewan Baker on this particular occasion as we begin the run up. Nicely tight packed top 4 John Merritt holding with for now here, David, as they make their way through Griffin's Bend for the first time and try and find some grip out there on this circuit.
Great opening corners from Tom Freer as he leads the race right now, but counter to our expectations, John Merritt is right in it with 2 spots gained in 4th. Pretty sure he is not on the Continental wet tyres, he's on the slicks. He's taken some different lines, he's trying to find grip on the dry line, it's not working through the cutting. Where in the shade, he's found a bit of a wet patch. Now he's side by side with Brady Baldwin, who's going to try to sneak up the inside. There's plenty of 2 wide happening out front here, as well as Freer's lead is now under attack. DeBono and Ewan Baker trying to go back through. Merritt's managed to get back onto the dry line, and that's so critical for him. And it's looking reasonable at the moment when he can stay on the dry line, but once he finds a bit of a wet patch or he gets forced offline, here's how they get him.
Here come across the top for the first time now. And also the cool thing is with all these cars on wets, if we're not too far away from the transition period as well, that'll mean that the John Merritt Hill takes some advantage if it doesn't then get worse. But the other thing is that we've got rain is forecast, it's timeline set as well, so it's a fairly confident and accurate forecast we can give. So I get the feeling looking at that there across the top, he's dropped back now, still in 5th, but a fair ways off our leading drivers here in this opening group. He might be under a bit of pressure before long here, down Conrad Straight for the first time.
Where I think I'm seeing a dry line. It's not a good sign for John Merritt, though, to be on dry tyres and kicking up spray behind him. But parts of the track look dry, and he looks relatively confident at the moment. And it was all things considered, with the mix of wet conditions, wet tyres, dry tyres, a pretty tidy opening lap of the race to this point. They all lose their minds trying to find their braking points into the chase. Looking decent for Pluck there behind Merritt. Luke Turner, he was on dry tyres. He's around at the chase.
Oh, another car. Tony Baker or Caleb Dawson, one of those two. Tell me that it's Dawson who's joined him there out in the... I'm hearing more tyres squealing and screeching as Ryan Carlson also
spotted. You want to act surprised that it's Caleb Dawson on dry tyres. It's also been for a little bit of an excursion through the chase there. I think we're right at that crossover point, but there is more risk in the dry tyres than there is in the wet tyres right now.
Oh, without a doubt, this is the real challenge of the day, it seems, as the drivers try and find some traction out there if they're gambling on this dry start. But I think it's, well, it doesn't look like it's working out for them for now, but I could be wrong on that one at this stage.
So we've got 1:36 p.m. in the server right now. 100% chance of rain at 2 p.m. It's 24 minutes away. Sun's still out right now, but it is a cool track. It is a drying track. Still got another 15 minutes without rain still to come here. So I think the dry tyres are going to start to hit their stride. And Faulkner, lots of positions gained for him on those wet tyres, though, in 11th, I know. How about one more, maybe?
Try around the outside of the 07 of
oh, no.
Oh, it's gone wrong. Very, very wrong indeed. Douglas Gowan's dropping down the order. One of our Velocity SimLab drivers, unfortunately, parked on the racing line here at the top of the hill. Driver's going to have to take a lot of caution here and see a bunch of cars now. Yep, thankfully, they're getting their warnings from their spotter, I would presume. And that'll enable him to go around. Gowan's just going to try and get that one back to the pits, but man, that is unfortunately a rough-looking ride. Actually, was number 20. I saw 07 on the car. It's done me a bit of mischief with that one there.
There's a lot of crooked panels, a lot of crooked tyres on that one as they tried to go side by side underneath the tree. And Faulkner seems to have carried on amongst all of that. Some of the other drivers have gained positions already. Jamie Christensen and Ben Miles also plus 10 positions gained. This is the race lead where Ewan Baker's all over Dylan DeBono, both of them on their wet tyres, heading down towards the chase. Tom Freer, Brady Baldwin and then John Merritt behind on his dry tyres. Top 4 all on the wets right now.
So I think we might go for a quick look at our first replay of the night once we see this one round out. It's Baker now way out next to the white line here. Be careful that doesn't get him loose. No! Contact with DeBono as they both try and turn in for the final corner of Murray's. Tom Freer says, I'll happily take that Christmas present. That is the race lead now. DeBono will find a gap as there's more tyre squealing happening in the background, and it looks like Caleb Dawson going for another run. Yes, again, Dawson has found himself in trouble down the at the chase. So that's 2 laps from 2 now for Dawson. That a dry tyre is not paying off as here's DeBono recovered to P10 now. He's got back up to speed.
Baker was looking to go around the outside of the final corner. DeBono was looking to go somewhere middle of the road there. He wasn't game to go all the way to the apex. He didn't. And then the two of them made contact as they were both well away from the apex. And Tom Freer, as you say, has gone through to the lead. John Merritt now running up into 3rd. Is DeBono having a little look to the inside there at Griffin's?
stuff fixed up in the background, but about right there. So Dawson, first pit stop in the race, going to go to him. And it looks like he might be deciding that after the attempts to make the dry tyre work, that's going to have to be him done. We'll wait and see that when he comes out in a second. We'll get him on screen as to where that looks like for him. Still says dry on the information we've got there, so maybe not willing to still gamble with it.
Go on to another set of dries, I think. Douglas Gowans has just reached the pit lane for all of his repairs. We saw were going to be quite needed. Suspension damage, body panel damage. Lucky, if anything, to be able to get it around. This is the same angle we saw it from the first time. So Faulkner, it is trying to go around the outside of Douglas Gowans here.
And from that there, okay, on board with Faulkner, I think that'll do the trick. How about that? Might just help answer the questions that we're looking for here. So now on board with Faulkner, and we'll look here to see as I come into under the signage. It's just a case of 2 doesn't go into 1.5 by the looks of things there, David.
Faulkner trying to squeeze a little too much because Gowans had no more room to the inside, and Faulkner's picked up his left rear quarter panel as they've tried to work their way around the right-hander, squeezing in a little too tight, I think, in that case. A few other cars are going to hit the pit lane, which is interesting. We're still in this moment where you can see the band of rain coming on the radar, but it's gone from red to yellow, so it's not going to be quite as monsoonal as it weakens as it approaches. Faulkner is in. Wet tyres in. Takes fuel only.
Looks like it.
Very interesting. Fastest lap of the race though now belonging to John Merritt. 1 second behind the lead in 4th place and on dry tyres. So he's definitely reached tyre temperature, reached the crossover point right now. And that gamble that he took that we see hasn't paid off for some others, like Caleb Dawson, Peter Wilkinson, Luke Turner, some others like that. For John Merritt, he's managed to make it work from his good qualifying position. Now look at him all over the leaders. He's within half a second of the outright race lead. They're side by side for that race lead on their wet tyres across the top of the mountain. Ewan Baker looking around the outside of Tom Freer now. John Merritt, I don't think he's got the tyres to go offline right now though.
Appear not, no. There's this from Baker. Comes out from behind Freer there for a moment, but gets back in line as they work their way down the hill here to the dipper. 10 minutes nearly done in this race. We are middle of lap 4. Current pace around here at the moment in the 2-minute 40s or so, as a couple of scrapes and dents as the drivers try and find their way in the air. Look at that there. Merritt, he's got moments where he's strong on a lap, but on that occasion there, David, had no pace for the second half of the run across the top of the mountain.
Probably got to be so careful through the S's there, and then he was a bit wide on the exit, didn't find exactly where the dry line or the grip was at the elbow, and he drops back from being half a second away from the race lead to being 1.7 seconds away. It's Baker looking into the chase where he could pass Tom Freer. Brady Baldwin still close. Merritt seems to close a lot in the straight line and in the braking zone there at the chase. So the classical racetrack bits, the bottom of the mountain here, he seems to be strong, but the street circuit with the concrete walls so close across the top of the mountain underneath the trees, not so strong. Side by side, again contact for Ewan Baker on the outside of the final corner. This time Freer holds on. Baldwin closes in from third. Look at the sky here. So it's blue skies in front of us as we're facing west, and then we turn south. Oh, and it still looks relatively clear out there. But hopefully you can bring that radar up again. Dylan DeBono takes the fastest lap of the race. He's still on the wet tyres, so we are right in the middle of a crossover, I think. There's the radar. You see, it was red when it started appearing on the dial. just weakening off a tiny bit as the front approaches, but it's still going to be a lot of rain. Here's third place for John Merritt as he sneaks down the inside there. So he does well in the slipstream. He seems to have less straight line drag as well. And he's now up to third as first and second place make a little bit of panel rubbing on the way to the cutting.
And Baker do off the conventional line there and then back onto it as they get to the exit. Another door bang as they end up side by side as they begin the run across the top once more. Certainly everything being put up on display here at this stage. They then try and come back down into the section on the wet here, where I think looks to be reasonably wet. And then again, the spray doesn't necessarily guarantee it as we're side by side. Lap 5, gentlemen. Got an hour and a half to go, but it looks like they're not afraid to try and, I guess, make sense. If you're P1 in this kind of conditions, you're the one that's got the clean air and a little bit less spray to worry about and a bit better vision to use as you come down the mountain. You're going to watch out here. Now again, as Merritt drops back, Brady Borwood, Matthew Pluck, what can they make of it here at the back of this group?
Fastest car on the last lap in the top 5 was Matt Pluck. He's closed in on Baldwin. Baldwin lost that spot to Merritt. So there's some interesting variation of pace happening up front here. And last lap 24.3 for Pluck as he closed in and made this a 5-way fight.
And we are going to grab top gear here in these 86s even now. Just gently working it through the kink there into the chase and then trying to get it pulled up, find some traction, and back out the other side again. So, and wipers coming on apparently in the braking zone there for the 51 of Pluck, as they'll carry on their merry way.
Hey, does Merritt also have those same blue lights in the dash, or is that a wet tyres thing?
Let's go have a look.
Oh, he does as well. Okay. He's got an interesting view there of this race lead. Baker and Freer have been very aggressive in the way they've been willing to battle for the race lead. And he is on different tyres to him. It's bonusing with the fastest lap of the race, but some pace picked up now on this lap just completed by Baker and Freer. Bowman's been around at the chase, and if you heard what I heard, he might have had some company.
Yeah. On the radio indeed coming through just then, but a couple of moments apparently out around the track to worry about, and I think happening further on back in the chase as well. So still catching out some drivers, unfortunately it seems at this stage, because Ryan Price looks to have had a moment of some kind. He's way off his usual pace. Same for Lachlan Thomas here in the stock Toyota Gazoo Racing paint scheme there, number 35 today in the race. So I might actually queue up a couple of replays here, David.
I'd want to look at the lead, man.
Nope, go back to the lead.
To be real.
Fair enough.
Merritt was sticking his nose down the inside on Tom Freer, who's sticking his nose down the inside on Ewan Baker, and your leading 3 are covered by 3 Toyota lengths right now, and we know that it should be starting to hit John Merritt's stride, but rain now 10 minutes away.
It's getting awfully close. Yeah, look at that there, down the S's to the dipper. Merritt, no confidence to get the car pulled up and then back on the power, just allowing those two to get away. So just, still in this transition period. So it's working for him now. Just obviously the pain will come when that rain hits us. Oh, there we go. Freer, inside of your race lead, is going to get alongside and force the issue. As they've actually got lap traffic ahead they're going to have to start worrying about shortly once we get towards the end of this lap here. It's up and over the crest they go. Baker trying to find a little something, and there's the ominous grey clouds, David. Looking in behind us as here comes Merritt.
Merritt's got insane speed, gets so much curb. It's a wet curb. Can he get on the dry patch? No, he can't, and he's going to skate wide from the chase. Couldn't get on the dry line to break. Very tactical, I think, from the drivers around him that he couldn't. But he had so much straight line speed on the dry tyres. I don't know if that's like a setup thing or just the wets have more rolling resistance.
I think it's going to have to be something to do with something with the tyres. Yeah, because they do seem to struggle a lot when it comes to straight line speed, even when conditions are drying up as they go under the 2 minute 40 barrier with Brody Baldwin putting the new fastest lap of the race down on the board there, 39.6. Allows him to close up a tiny bit in this one. And yep, there we go. Grey clouds now very much across the horizon at the top of the mountain. The drivers now seeing that as they that one there. And now you can just start to see them properly as we're on board with the leader, Tom Freer.
Merritt's going to come back to third place. So having looked at the timing, everyone on dry tyres has an end of straight speed into the chase about 5 kilometres an hour quicker. So if nothing else, you just get to carry a little bit more speed up Mountain Straight right at the end, and at the end of Conrod Straight as well. But clearly where the time is still being lost right now is from the top of the mountain all the way down to the elbow. Rain is looming, and at that point John Merritt will have to get off these tyres. But for the moment, it's been relatively fruitful for him.
Yeah, it's working out okay. It's just the problem here, when that rain comes, expecting yes there will be a safety car to also stabilise things a little bit, yes, but he'll lose the time that comes from changing the tyres over whilst there is a bit of a gap back behind this sort of leading pack of 5 or so. Dylan Lerona sort of in his own little bubble with Shane Ratcliffe there for 6th and 7th. And then you've got to go back another 5 odd seconds to Sam Chapman leading the next group of cars. As you watch here, leader spring out a bit, but there we go. No more sunlight at the top of the mountain, it seems. As you can see just now, there is definitely a nice dry width along Conrod. Not much tyre spray being kicked up by our leaders here.
Here's the speed for Merritt right as they kick into towards 6th gear past 200 kilometres an hour. He's got mega speed at the end of the straight here. Freer's got just a little bit of traffic to need to worry about here. Not quite yet, but hopefully that resolves shortly. And you've got the top 3 getting away right here. Next best placed car on dry tyres is Ryan Carlson in 13th. So hopefully they're also enjoying a little bit of crossover. I mean, they are. They're a lot of speed compared to the drivers around them at the moment. We are seeing this sort of dry tyre crossover really looks to be about 240 around here, and I think that's what I'm going to keep in mind hereafter. John Merritt with a 238 flat. And a good run at Tom Freer, the race leader as well, who's got just a tiny bit of traffic heading up Mountain Straight towards Griffin's Bend. John Merritt gets in to push Tom Freer through and get 1st and 2nd place around the traffic. Will he be able to make his textbook move up Griffin's Bend here down the inside? He will, because Freer offers up the inside at Griffin's Bend. John Merritt's got the speed, but not the outbreaking.
And speaking of dry tyres coming into their own, the next best placed, Ryan Carlson, gets a couple of tenths on the board. And with that one there, we'll put in the fastest lap of the race as Tony Baker's having some trouble out in the circuit apparently. Yeah, final turn looks to have not gone too well for him there.
So he gets back going again, and the whole circuit is in darkness. I'm looking at the zoomed weather radar. Still nothing on that yet. Here's Baker looking around the outside of the final corner.
Contact with the leader, Dan.
Well, that angle doesn't tell me a whole lot, to be honest. The tough thing is that the best racing line at the moment doesn't take you all the way to the curbing down the inside. So the car on the inside doesn't want to turn in too early. And you're just stuck waiting if you're the car around the outside. This is the race lead. John Merritt and his dry tyres have gotten there. There's just a tiny bit of sun out again, but surely the rain is a-coming. These couple of laps here might just give John Merritt first dibs when it comes to the pit lane.
This band inches closer, but yeah, as you said, seems to be easing in intensity a reasonable amount, which might give him just a little, like one extra lap's worth of leeway here as to being viable, which will certainly be important, because every lap that John Merritt can have here where the dry tyres are going to do him some good is critical for him. As you can see, he's actually made a nice little gap with the straight line advantage he gets down Conrod on this occasion, so he'll look to keep pressing on here.
It's good for him here as well to be leading because it's all his own lines. He can pick and choose the dry lines. He can stay on the dry parts. Tom Freer can't even stay on the paved parts, let alone Ewan Baker. So this really just unleashes John Merritt to drive his way, because when he was dry tyres racing side by side with wet tyres, it was very difficult. That's why it took him a while to get through. You're also going to see some other quick laps from dry tyred cars. Sam Chapman and Christensen both on wets here. There's a couple of teammates.
Yeah, no major surprises there. If I'm not mistaken, that actually might even be... Yep, that's 4 Vermilion cars all in a row.
There's a Vermilion of them. New fastest lap of the race, Ryan Carlson. So he seems like a driver who's perhaps got, leaning a little more in the dry setup way. Very happy if the track is gonna dry up again and not get too wet.
Over to John Merritt's times at the moment, David. You can see that lap 6 in particular was quite the improvement for Carlson. Now it's fairly steady, but a couple of tenths quicker for the past 2 laps as well. So showing it definitely dries appear to be where it's at this stage.
Merritt's lead right now is something very, very impressive, and we've seen the lap times tumble from 245s to 242s into 237s now, and in fact a 236.96 from Ryan Carlson. John Merritt with a 237.2 to lead the way. So he's in his element right here once we've got underneath 2:40 in these conditions.
It's great sort of great fun, yeah. So learning where the crossovers exist around these circuits, and as to where the best pace is going to be at this stage, and pretty clear cut where the magic number is, as Christensen and Chapman have switched places in the Vermilion train. So it will now be the 25 up to P number 8, and 15 places gained on the road, which might just be most of the race. And yes, indeed, it is, if only just.
1 more than Jordan Dakin and 2 more than Ben Miles as far as positions gained is concerned. I can see rain on the zoomed radar now for the first time.
Oh, someone's in the grass up ahead, I think. Christensen. Fastest lap for Merritt, and you know what? Let's get that zoomed radar up on the screen. For one final time, just actually we'll bring the regular one up, and then we'll switch to the zoom here. And there it is. Starting to approach from that southwestern corner.
It's on its way. There's some heavy bits behind it, and it's coming. John Merritt's out to a 5-second lead with a new fastest lap of the race. Behind him, Tom Freer, Ewan Baker, Brady Baldwin, some wet tyres, starting to cry enough, hoping that rain comes shortly, and even then you would want to put new wets on potentially in those conditions. Pluck it's dropped back a little bit towards Dylan DeBono, who's got some good pace at the moment, at 237.5 on his wet tyres.
How's that?
Look at those times gained. The tyres are gone for Pluck, and DeBono is very strong.
It's quite impressive there from Dylan DeBono in terms of tyre management. Seems to be something that he's got figured out at this stage, as side by side through the Great Wheel will go. And single file once more. Now DeBono is going to be the one to lead them across the top.
I think we're a minute away from the weather hitting Skyline, Reed Park, Solomon Park first, and then working its way over the rest of the racetrack. It's DeBono ahead and pulling away. You're seeing the spray right now, particularly down Conrod Straight. Here's Baldwin in behind Baker. Here's Baldwin beside Baker. heading down to the braking zone at the chase. Bolden with the nose in front, with the inside for the little kink. Where's the preferred braking line in these conditions on these tyres? I just couldn't tell you, but it looks good for Baldwin as he gets up into third place. This is the point where you can begin to smell the rain in the air before you can see it or feel it.
No concern. Peter was on a set of dry tyres. I get the feeling that might be changing now.
Would be a good lap to get onto wets, and that's what Wilkinson does. It sends him a lap down, but the weather is imminent across the top of the mountain. Dark skies. For your leader, John Merritt, 10 laps on the dry tyres, fastest lap of the race, last lap. He is flying right now, out to 10 seconds now, but the weather is soon going to turn on him.
Yeah, so actually fine. Have we got a camera? No, unfortunately we don't have a camera situated down or up the top of the mountain. We do have just only those shots there. And there we go. Never mind. The rain begins to fall and it reaches us at the cutting. McPhillamy basically the cutting through to McPhillamy Park is going to be the first part of the circuit that experiences the rain.
Yeah, and it's just a little bit now, but you see it, you feel it. It has that effect right now where John Merritt doesn't want to push on too hard just yet. And in a lap's time, it's going to come even heavier. So it's just starting spitting now, but it's going to get heavier and it's going to envelop the whole circuit. It's almost there. Some yellow and red patches on the radar approaching Mount Panorama. Most of the field on wet tyres, but a few of them chanced the dry tyres, tried to keep it on the road early. The conditions have really come to them right now. Yeah, look at it. The light blue, the green with yellow and red still to come on the radar. You think Merritt's going to pit this lap?
I think so. The way that's already progressing across the circuit now, Conrod is basically the only part of the track that isn't wet yet. Surely the second lap you're going to get to that yellow and red banding of the rain, which means that's going to basically mean any attempt to keep going on dries surely would have to be some kind of crazy move here from Merritt. I don't think he'll get a benefit from going one more lap here on these opening dry. Look at that. But you know, that is flat out. Just sounded like for a second he might have rolled for a moment. But yes, I don't see a way for John Merritt to make this work staying out any longer than he already has on these dry tyres. But he'll prove me wrong.
To be made.
And there you go. The safety car has been scrambled. So whilst the rain is light currently, we go under the iRacing caution from the race control decision.
Which closes the pit entry for everyone at this stage.
That it does.
How many cars are on the lead lap? 31, I think, at this moment, all the way down to Jacob Vickery. Nice lights on the Mustang. Oh, this is going to be tough for Vickery, though, because those are dry tyres. Anyone else on dry tyres limping around? I'm not sure that Vickery's going to be a whole lot quicker than the safety car at these speeds. Doing 110, 90 at the moment. Pace car speed is 90 kilometers an hour. Duke, another one coming around on the dry tyres. Oh, and at the elbow, the rear's let go. Not too much damage for Adrian Duke, but that just shows precisely how precipitously difficult the racetrack has become in these conditions.
And they've all got to, well, they all want to try and push around at this stage to go and catch the race leaders and get some time back, because this is the sort of thing where, like, yeah, if you're on...
Is it open now?
It shouldn't be, not from my understanding. The pit should be closed until the leader comes back around behind the pace car. So drivers, perhaps you're going to just get off the tyres now. As I'm hearing a couple of drivers say, they're actually, Jordan Dakin apparently about to run out of fuel. That's why he's come in, supposedly. Because, yeah.
The question always becomes, you know, what is the penalty not is it allowed or not. Because if it's not allowed, but the penalty is end of line, then
Yes.
maybe you do it.
That is what the penalty should be for entering a closed pit. So that should be. Oh, Merritt, hang on to it.
Said the pace car speed is 90 kilometers an hour, but in these incredibly damp conditions on dry tires, your race leader John Merritt can't hardly do that speed. He's so sideways behind the safety car heading down the mountain. Like, they can't pass him behind. So just hold on, catch the pace car down the straight here, son, but just be so careful. It should open for him at the end of this lap.
And how about that for treacherous? How are the other cars that are trying to hang on? And the answer, I think, for Alina Dan was that they haven't been able to make it. Tony Baker hasn't been able to make it here on his slick tyres. That looks to have been a fairly recent bit of drama. And I think same for Caleb Dawson. That's looking slow too.
Here's Duke. Oh no, up the top of Mountain Straight into Griffin's Bend, looped it around as the rears, I think, have grabbed.
The other big problem for these drivers is they're slowing down. Their tyres will be stone cold, and that's part of the challenge here. Is it's not just the fact, oh, Merritt, complete drift into the chase. At the pedestrian speeds of about 90 kilometers an hour. The rears have got nothing. Pit entry here is going to be an absolute nightmare, as I should be able to say with confidence now the pits are open, and he's going to be not the only one in. Ewan Baker will follow. But Dylan DeBono in the background going to try and follow in his... Oh, look at John
Baker's
just...
trapped behind on this pit entry as John Merritt just tries to keep the nose in front of the tail so he can get to his pit box and get wet tyres on. For those behind, it's, you know, at least a good opportunity to put new wet tyres on and put fuel in as well. You can see the puddles, how much rain is coming down. A couple of wave arounds happening around the safety car there as well by the looks of things at this stage, based on those who were lapped down but stayed out when the leader pitted. And no surprise to see new tyres going on. All of these cars, eventually Pluck finds where his crew is at.
And just bringing it there up on screen in the lower third, David. Big trouble for Ewan Baker following John Merritt in. He passed Tom Freer under that pit entry, with the way obviously it's shorter on the pit entry versus the normal track width. And he's picked himself up an iRacing black flag for passing a car under yellow before he entered the pits. So that's going to be a world of pain for him. Like to see here, Merritt should be the first away, and he will be the first. DeBono, though, they're right behind him there in that first pit box.
Yeah, good stops for DeBono and Pluck. You can see Baker still waiting, still held. Only cars I can see still on dry tyres right now, Caleb Dawson. And he's snuck his way to pit entry now at this stage as well. Everyone is going to get on wets.
Caleb Dawson, I think, is our last car trying to get back to the pits to fix his to get on fresh tyres, and yeah, that car's already been in a lot of pain, it seems, of late, and I think that's mostly come from these laps here under caution, waiting for the pits to open. It will be an excursion through the grass. Luke Turner. That's who. Did hear something about a tow request, and he will hopefully get that sorted out shortly. There you go.
On the wet tyres. So Tom Freer has stayed out, leads the race from Brady Baldwin, Jamie Christensen, Sam Chapman, Sean Doyle, Nathan Norman, Ben Faulkner, Ben Miles, Joshua Barry as your top 9. Then in 10th is John Merritt with his new wet tyres, and behind him is a tranche of cars also on brand new wet tyres. Dylan DeBono, Matthew Pluck and Hayden Kirk. Joseph Parkinson's still out on old wet tyres, and then Shane Ratcliffe on new wet tyres. How much of a difference are you expecting 12 lap old wet tyres versus brand new ones? Will they have worn down the tread in the drying conditions too much in the first part?
the big it should make a difference. Yes,
They
fresh
should have
tires.
gotten real hot in that
Yeah.
first segment.
Yeah, really hot. Maybe if depending on what the physical, there's a bit of an interesting experimentation from some of the Vermilion cars as to where to go to keep the tyres rolling. And so apparently I've heard rumours of the fact that unfortunately tyre cooling techniques like finding puddles of water isn't quite optimised or perfectly simulated just yet. Yeah, I would expect these drivers here merit on back. They should have a little bit of an advantage. The big problem for them, David, is going to be the fact that all these cars here, they've got basically warmth in their tyres that they're losing, whereas he started with what should be basically a cold set of tyres that are getting just only even colder here under the safety car.
Just passing through the thick of the rain right now, and so the track is super wet. The rain's heavy right now, but it's about to stop. It's about to ease up, and we've got one more lap behind the safety car. There's a lot of drivers going around still trying to catch the tail of the train. So first to 20th are all in the train right now, and then Dennis Hancock is trying to get around to catch the group before we go green again. Alina Dan, Ira Felberg, Leon Williams, Douglas Gowans, Jordan Dakin, Luke Turner, another couple of cars trying to get around, trying to catch the train. But when you get waved around, it is a big lap that you need to catch up here. And it's tough to do it when the safety car seems to do the same speed whether it's wet or dry.
Yeah, Fred, the iRacing pace car driver, apparently has very little care for whether it's wet or dry. He just apparently has the ability to do it all. He looks a little vacant from the driver's seat of that Mustang pace car. Maybe need to report a missing person out there on the circuit, perhaps.
Oh,
Yeah, that cockpit's a little vacant there.
I
with,
think you're right. New self-driving safety car?
Yeah,
I've seen lots of videos of self-driving cars on the internet, and they don't look much safer.
Yes, well, maybe we found the secret there.
So whoever's switched the lights off has switched the lights off, though, telling us that we are getting going again next lap.
We are indeed. I was just trying to see here. It looks like Joseph Parkinson may have either came in on lap 1 or actually more likely to the effect. Let's see here. Yeah, he is in P10, not P34, and it looks like he took a pit lane start in this race. So once again, unfortunately, throwing some of our scoring and timing for a loop there. There was a bit of a void on our timing tower that I just couldn't help but notice. So Dennis still looking to catch up, but he's almost there now, so he can basically ease up to the back of the train. As Adrian Duke has just finished, finished his lengthy repairs. Lap down at the moment, unfortunately, but he will get back out here at least. So live to fight another day here, it seems.
And there is no one left on dry tyres, everyone on wets. An hour, 5 minutes still to go in this race. The rain almost gone now. Yep, the rain basically gone at this point. So again, we'll have the same situation with everyone on wet tyres and approaching the crossover. And I don't think anyone's, with no more rain, I don't think anyone's going an hour on wet tyres. But it might be still half an hour of racing or more before we really reach the crossover point. And it will be tough to make the change wet to dry. Tom Freer is up front as we head down Conrod Straight, ready to get racing again.
For a second there, I thought he had a bit of a adventurous line and excursion through Forest Elbow there, and nearly had a moment. As some drivers are looking to see if the puddles might help them. Others looking to press on. Okay. Oh, indeed. Who is that of the Vermilion cars? I think Ben Faulkner there having a bit of a...
Bit too much tyre warming.
Oh, is he on the painted line? Yep, he's on the painted line, and he taps the brakes.
Deliberate, right?
Didn't say that.
Pretty deliberate tyre warming to me.
Yes, getting creative there, I think.
A little ambitious, no doubt, but we'll see if temperature can be held in those older wet tyres, if too much got worn off them, and if a duty cycle has taken some of the goodness away from them, and what other drivers deeper in the field on newer tyres can do in these very, very wet conditions. Puddled water in many places, track very damp absolutely everywhere. AI safety car pulling in, Tom Freer leading us to the restart at Mount Panorama in Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup. Just over an hour of racing left on a very, very wet track, but no more rain predicted. Sun almost coming out. We get going once again.
Let's see here now who's looking to be racy. It's Jamie Christensen, the first of our Vermilion. Now that was originally a quartet. It was Sam Chapman Sam Chapman's there amongst the bunch, so Vermilion run 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by the look of things. There's already back in the pack. Ewan Baker looking to make moves. He's made up one into turn 1 on Shane Ratcliffe there in the 27. So getting back to work. His driver's down the order. And luckily for him, despite that lengthy time penalty of passing under yellow, on the way into the pits, David, it's about 3 seconds behind John Merritt, is Ewan Baker. So it's not hurt him all that much, one might relatively say.
This race pretty ferocious as Dylan DeBono gets down the inside of John Merritt. I don't think that a particularly great race restart. Tom Freer has, as he still leads. Brady Bolden's gone with him. Christensen dropping back just a tiny bit behind them. Doyle's going to lose some spots through the cutting. So who's gone around the outside of him? Ben Faulkner, I think, has just gone plain around the outside of him. Positions being made up everywhere, and Faulkner does seem to have an incredible amount of confidence in these conditions. Doesn't hurt that it's his own teammates he's starting to scythe through.
Yeah, a bit of internal team communications. You can see he's definitely looking to keep it pinned, but yeah, dancing with a bit of danger on the white lines and the puddles, and then he's a little offline, it seems, across the top of the McPhillamy, but slow enough. He's able to hang on to it and gather it back up as they come back down the mountain for the first time here at racing speeds in these damp conditions once again.
I'm interested to see what this lap
around to the back.
Like.
Sean Doyle.
He's going to keep it going. He's going to get off the racing line as well, but I'm sure there's going to be some damage off of that. He's not the only driver around at the cutting, at the dipper even. Tell me Doyle's somehow gotten away with that. John Snell might be stuck. I think he's stuck. He's broken one of the drive shafts. He's in the wall. John Snell is just going to be able to drive it away.
More trouble out there for Nathan Norman, it seems, this time at Forest Elbow for him. He just lost a whole handful of positions, but still pointing in the right direction and pressing on here as we try and rebuild to this restart. And note there on the side of your screen, or on the side of the tower, I should say, Ben Faulkner has taken a pit up in this race. Now, saying it was fuel only for Faulkner in that early stop as we saw it. So his tyres are as old as everyone else, but looks like he's got the confidence to keep going. Well, he's certainly trying to throw it in.
That strategy is that it can take him further towards the crossover point. Anyone who's stayed out this whole time, if they reach the crossover point on tyres, or they run out of fuel before that, it really limits their strategy options. So Faulkner's got a little bit more fuel in to run a little bit longer if he thinks the crossover point is further away, and he won't need to worry about running out of fuel. He had a big moment there. Who's dropping back?
Lap traffic is who? Trying to figure out which of our cars is it? Yes, it is. It's Ryan Carlson in amongst all this after his great pace on that opening stint in the dries, called out by the caution timing, and lost a whole lot of time and a whole lap down on the lead. They're now in 28th place as these drivers on wets try and stick together and keep on hustling.
So this is DeBono, Merritt, Bowman, Ewan Baker, Matt Cluck, Nathan Norman, all heading up into Griffin's Bend. Baker tries to go way around the outside. It's such an interesting corner for that because in the dry conditions, There's no grip around the outside. The crown and the camber of the road means the inside line always wins. In these conditions, it's also the slick line, so what the weather does for that corner can be very, very unpredictable. The lap just completed by the race leader at 2:54, so this could be then a 2:50. We're still 10 seconds away from the crossover. As you see the amount of spray, the cars all kick up. We are heading towards a drying track, but it's still way too wet for dry tyres.
In this whole game now, you've got to stay away from puddles, stay away from the painted lines. That's Matthew plucked backwards in the wall.
It is, and that thing went in fast as well. He's still got drive because he hasn't gone nose in. He doesn't seem to have gone rear corner in and knocked any of the wheels off, but it will have done damage in some way. I think backwards in square on is probably the best you can do though. You don't want to damage the corners, you don't want to pop the radiator. And Bowman.
Baker around as well.
And Baker around. A couple of cars struggling in these conditions. The racing's ferocious in this weather, with a lot of side-by-side and a lot of room for error.
Let's catch a couple of these here real quick. On this restart phase here is DeBono and Barry, though meanwhile they're going at it down into the chase, and DeBono will get the spot in the process as Ira Felberg just lost a couple of spots. I suspect, unfortunately, that's another car getting caught out at the dipper there by the looks of things.
251.6 just completed by your race leader. Let's have a look. Challenge down the hill. It's one line, it's one slick line at the dipper.
Now, yep, so Bowman gets away with that in a relative sense. Ewan Baker, no, pardon me, that's not the right one there. So in behind, that would be John Merritt there, yes. They come on into the elbow. Oh, he's on the painted line. He just puts himself out trying to find some way around, and that's unfortunately what does him in.
A little too wide to find traction. Best lap in this phase of the race right now, Ben Faulkner with a 250.7, a second faster than the race leader, and looking to catch Brady Baldwin for second as well, battling up towards Griffin's Bend through the rest of the field as well, as there's a handful of cars that do find themselves out of position. Faulkner is all over Baldwin heading up the hill.
Might as well focus on that here now, as they bowl, try and find some kind of grip ball, and actually runs the left side tyres over the line. Faulkner in there to try and find something. Still on a mostly dryish line there through the grate, which is ambitious because that's a solid puddle of water there. And then a wiggle from Brady across the top as he tries to hang on to the number 7 and keep his pace up here. As more cars to the pit lane, including Mark Bowman. Hold on to it, Brady. All kinds of crossed up down the S's. Ben Faulkner's looking at that going, I want that chance to go fight for the lead here. As around.
One turn, two turns. Baldwin ends up nose first into the wall at the elbow. Drives off, but Faulkner gets that second place, and the pressure got to Baldwin there in the braking zone heading downhill.
Well, he might have gotten away with it a little bit, but the biggest problem obviously is now it's a mechanical black flag for number 7. We have to get that car fixed up before we can come back out. And it's far too soon to just throw on slicks and just get the stop done early here with the way this track looks and the times that we're still seeing from our leaders.
Sun back out is helping the track dry quickly though, so sometimes it just stays wet forever. We are, drying and gaining, 1.5 seconds per lap every single lap as the large field goes around, kicks up the spray, disperses the puddles, and then the sun does the rest on the racing line as well. Merritt here is up to 7th, and we talked about his tyres, 12 laps better off than a lot of the cars in front. So we'll see what his pace on this lap looks like. His last lap wasn't representative. Baldwin does make his way to pit entry, but what this lap looks like for Merritt will let us know if the tyres are cooked off for the leaders. 2:52, so still not quicker than what the top three are doing.
Strong through the opening sector, but either got held up or had a big struggle up across the top of the mountain at some point
I
there.
think he made a pass or two on that lap as well. Probably on Ben Miles, maybe even on Dylan DeBono as well. So he definitely had to make a couple of passes on that lap too. Now he's got that clean air, but 20 seconds away from the race leader.
Oh, he's throwing it in all right. He's not hanging around as John Merritt nearly puts himself in the wall at Griffin's Bend. So watch out, John. Don't want to trip yourself up in that sense, as Eddie Baldwin's pit stop clock is complete. Oh, this man's got some serious big brass ones here, David. It is way too early, surely, for this, but he's going to do it anyways and try and make it home from here on the dry tyre he expects to need to finish this race off.
No way this works out and he doesn't lose 10 seconds per lap every lap for the next 5 laps. On board with Baldwin, cold, slick tyres as he heads up to his first real test. And the first real test sees him into the tyre wall. Those are wet tyres, but he's on dry ones.
Oh dear, the way he took that up the hill, that screen. Oh, he's black flagged the car again with that one. He's got to back it right off, and nope, the car doesn't even think about stopping and trying to turn left at the same time. And then it's going to be, it's now bent sideways and going to be a handful to say the least. As, Christensen's found the fence at Forest Elbow.
Well, Doyle's also dropping back, so there's a couple of damaged cars happening right now. Drivers pushing on hard. Is it Doyle? A bit of damage on the car in some places, side by side at the moment, and they're bearing down on what's obviously another damaged car further up the road as well. Barry and Baker that Sean Doyle has for company. He's behind Joshua Barry. He's got Ewan Baker arriving at speed as they head towards the braking zone of the chase. Side by side through the kink in the wet. Why not? Sean Doyle's got too much damage. He left out of that one. Baker gets one spot. He looks to outbrake down the inside here as well for another. Couldn't quite get there on Joshua Barry.
It is all kinds of fast and furious out here.
I think I've seen a Tokyo drift or two in these conditions.
Yeah, at the same time, you have to be so careful. You can't afford to be going too fast for the conditions, as I think that was Ryan Carlson in the background trying to hang with this group of cars. Yep, it was. And he finds the limit at the final turn.
Baker made his passes, a couple other passes going on. Christensen made it to the pit lane. Sean Doyle has stayed out, so maybe he just had a spin and not too much damage. Tom Freer leads. Faulkner lost so much time. Whoa! Okay.
Well,
okay.
We've apparently hit the not metaphorical but quite literal cliff, it seems, for a lot of drivers except your race leader, Freer.
Faulkner must have a problem. Faulkner must have a massive, massive problem. Either those tyres are gone or he's got damage and he's tagged the rear somewhere and knocked the alignment out, because he's going nowhere and it's in a hurry. Sam Chapman's the next car. Merritt is in 4th, still 22 seconds away from the race lead. How did he lose the time? At the dipper.
Lap 18.
That suspension is way out of alignment now. Look at it. You can see this positive camber on the right rear. Oh. And then Christensen.
Confirmation that it was the elbow that did Jamie Christensen in.
Man. Whoa.
That's Faulkner trying to get on. Yeah, that was Faulkner trying to get back on going, and he's almost running into his own teammate there. But yeah, that unfortunately is what befallen some of the Vermilion drivers, as Brady Baldwin has conceded defeat, it seems, unfortunately, is Chapman.
From 3rd place, catching a damaged Faulkner for 2nd place. He's looped it around at the elbow, and everyone who could challenge Tom Freer is falling away. Here comes the next group with a big checkup on the exit. Losing out looks to be Hayden Kirk. Or is it Is it in fact Parkinson?
Yes, the 66 of Joseph Parkinson is actually in P11, not P30. Position's wrong, but everything else is correct. But it means that Tom Freer, this might be one of his least pressured phases of the race. And he'll be all clear to keep on running.
He does a 2:49. Last lap for De Bono was a 2:49. So I wonder if in fourth place, Dylan De Bono's better wet tyres are starting to come in. Faulkner has to pit from second place. Here comes Merritt and De Bono, who'll go up into second and third place. They stopped underneath the safety car. They took fuel. They took wet tyres. So in De Bono's case, that was new wet tyres. In Merritt's case, that was a switch from the dries to the wets. And it's another 2:49.9 for De Bono, which has me feeling we are still 10 seconds away, 10 seconds per lap away from crossover.
Yeah, I'm just looking at these numbers here and trying to make sense of them, David. Tom Freer is apparently an absolute maestro of the second sector here across the top of the mountain. No one can come close to the times he's putting down. 1 second, I think they get to about, let's go here, current. Yeah, so it's there from the exit of the cutting across the top to I think about the dipper maybe is where these sector times.
Should we ride on board then?
Yes, let's have a look and see if we can try and. Oh no!
Are you kidding me? Oh, Tom Freer from the lead. He's nose into the wall right as we went on board to see where he's gaining all of that time. This isn't going to be the fastest sector 2, and I feel personally responsible.
It's okay.
Except, no, I just suggested that we look at his inputs. You were the one hyping up his speed.
Yeah, look, I think I better take responsibility for that one there. This is just going to try and piece together and try and understand where the speed was coming from. But he just, yep, okay, carry on. Well, let's see here. So second
really
2.
benefits Merritt and De Bono though, because they're in a better strategy position, and now that 20 seconds behind that they were is now only 12 seconds.
Still got to go and catch him. So sector 1 to the exit of the cutting. Sector 2 to the approach to Forest Elbow, and then from here the rest of the way around the lap. So gives you an idea of what we're talking about for sectors and laps. As Ryan Price, who is one of our last cars on the lead lap, has come into the pits. Oh no, not again. Another driver gambling on slicks. Surely still.
This is a bit smarter than Brady Baldwin. I don't think that the lap times have improved much or the track has dried much at all. Just need to, I think even on the slick tyres, you need to get to the right-hand side and brake offline because the left-hand side will be far too slick. That's initially what did Baldwin in. He braked way too late and there was no braking grip here at all. There's no braking grip here at all. Ryan Price spins around backwards into the wall at the very, very first time of asking. Slick tyres on a track that is still way, way away from that.
Yeah, that crossover. It's surprising how many. That's now 3 drivers who have tried, and two drivers have tried, and 2 have not been able to make it work. There. And the crossover clearly was around the 2:40 bracket in the opening stint with the rain having been gone. And the water is still very much here with us. And alas, drivers have tried and drivers unfortunately have failed so far to master the situation. As looks like Ben Faulkner, we won't be seeing him back out for a long time, if at all, in this race.
Back. Tom Freer seems to have found his mojo once again. Peter Wilkinson is one of the last cars running now at the moment. He started on the slicks, went to the wets.
Indeed, I actually wanted to bring him up for a moment, David. Not so much because of where he's at right now, but actually one of the things is that for this event, the Locked On lads continuing to support Ozicar this year. They've also got a little event of their own going on at this time, which is of importance to get the information back, actually. It was in our description for the live stream. I'm trying to pull it back up again here so I can actually get that information and read that one out for you. Oh, there's actually Moco Racing. And then I'll get that information for you in a second. Right, so we can watch these two.
Bono's on John Merritt for second now, having a look down the inside of the elbow. The battle for second place that closed some time on Tom Freer when he had his mistake. Doesn't seem to have done any damage to Tom Freer as he's now pulling away from these two at the moment.
Watch them coming on down Conrod Straight here at the moment. Mr. Bono getting a bit of slipstream. It seems in behind the 64 of Merritt, but only enough to close up to the back bumper, or was it enough to commit around the outside? But he's in the dry line and he can't. Oh, actually, no, he can pull it up.
It was skating on the brakes. It was sideways as he turned in. He found a little bit of grip, and Bono goes through and into second place ahead of John Merritt. And these guys are 10 seconds ahead of the next car, Ewan Baker, who's worked up to fourth at the moment.
Mighty fine there indeed, as they carry on their merry way.
247.6 completed by Tom Freer, and we really thought you'd need to get to about, I mean, at best, like the first point I'd consider it is when someone is doing 242s. At that point, I think you could get on slicks and survive. You'd be slower than the wet-tired runners for a little bit, but I think 242 is about where you can survive. 240 is about where you'd be quicker.
Yeah, that does sound about right from that opening stint, and the numbers
because no amount of caution will even let you survive at the moment. We've seen that on dry tyres. It just does not work. You get to the first corner and you fall flat on your ass on that ice.
Speaking of that, someone in between our leaders. Oh, yep, there it is. Ben Faulkner has another driver attempting, gets back out here after the errors there in that stint, and it's another driver attempting to make the wets work, make the slicks work in these conditions, and just going to find out the hard way that it's not ready yet.
I have to play PlayStation, just riding the outside wall all the way around. There's no grip. There's nothing for Ben Faulkner. There's a constant stream of cars on the correct tyres lapping him that he's got to stay out of the way of, and then it's a death spiral. You're in the wrong place. You can't get temperature into your tyres. So he's made it further than Griffin's been. He's made it as far as the cutting before he's entered a massive slide, gone wide, hit the wall on the right, spun around, hit the wall on the left later on.
Yeah, part of it is now he's trying to get out of the way. So
might have been quicker just doing the whole thing in reverse gear.
Yep, pivot left, and there goes to Bono and Merritt through, and then tries to get back a going. He's soldiering on. Then has to wait some more.
Would you bring it? Oh, he gets cleaned up by his own teammate. Would you bring it back in and put wets on, right? That's what you have to do right now.
Surely, because otherwise that car's just become absolutely beaten and bruised on its way around for a chance to even be remotely in the zone for tyres.
Pluck and Miles for 6th and 7th, having a little bit of a move in the chase. Pluck runs wide on the exit. That could hurt him as Ben Miles comes back at him. Nathan Norman's gotten ahead of Ewan Baker in 4th and 5th as well. So Baker's had a pretty rough lap, I think. And that's just up ahead of this battle here for 6th and 7th, where it looks like Pluck is going to hold on to this 6th place. Yeah, 254 from Baker. He's had a problem somewhere around on the lap just completed. Here comes Pluck and Miles.
Yeah, you're not. It's apparently a crash of some kind. And, oh, yep. He's on wets, but just finds a bit of the dry line, I suspect, by the looks of that there, David. Polished surface. Around he goes as the tyres just cannot find the grip they need to cut through the water and bite on the asphalt.
So there's 10k an hour of breeze out there clearing the spray. There's almost 30 cars running, clearing the puddles. We are still a long way away from the crossover to dry tyres. 249, 248, 248 was the lap times by your top three on the lap just completed. Still a while away from even thinking about surviving on dry tyres.
It would appear we're in a phase, of the race where the track is just so slowly coming to them that, it'll be a while longer before we start worrying about that. Did you have a look at the current conditions here at this stage? Yeah, I think that's part of it there. While the air temperature is sitting at 20 degrees, the track is still pretty bone cold at 15. So that's part of it there. The sun and the wind are out, David, but the circuit's not heating up to help get the water off through evaporation, as De Bono just hangs onto it though there through the elbow and almost tries to stop Merritt from getting through, but Merritt says, I'm not having any of that, thank you very much.
Yeah, that would basically be a block at that point. So Merritt does get through back into second. So is that the rain is all gone? The track temp stays
Down.
very, very chilly and the air is static.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a 30-minute history apparently. If I actually see if I bump that up to like, can I push that beyond like 60 minutes? Yeah, there we go. That's a 1 hour graph of air plus track temperature and rain amount. It's quite interesting that the actual track cooling has happened after the rain has gone, and that's what will be probably holding up this transition away from the wet tyres shortly.
They're all static at about the same lap times right now. We're not seeing the improvement that we saw initially after the safety car. It's still 249s from everyone in your top three. No one going quicker than that. Not a 248 to be found, let alone a 46 or a 42 or a 40. The fastest lap of the race still belongs to John Merritt, I think, with a 235.2. We are therefore 14 seconds away from what those conditions were. After he spin at the chase, here's Baker coming back at Nathan Norman for fourth place.
Doing nicely here on recovery drive efforts is Baker. Although that's going to be... could have been dangerous, but actually gets Nathan Norman in a little deep to Griffin's Bend. And opens up the option to run side by side up the hill here towards the cutting.
We've seen passes around the outside of the cutting happen before. Baker will try to keep his nose in there, and I think he just might get a little bit of traction off of there. And there is no way in the dry conditions he's saying, I think I'll pass around the outside of the cutting, but where the grip is, the way it works, if you get a good run off of Griffin's Bend, maybe you can do it. Because Baker's done it, a few others have done it before as well.
Yeah, the inside line, it just tightens up a little bit too much for the car to really drive off the corner like you want it, and it actually becomes more favourable to do that run around the outside. So it becomes this whole game of start doing what is not typically normal, as he has a little wiggle at the bottom of the S's, but hangs on to it and then powers on down here, because it's great to see that definitely a drying line beginning to form here. How's that for more commitment from the 34? So much so that he's a little wider than you usually do through the elbow.
Nathan and Pluck both pretty wide out there as well, though. Pluck's catching in this battle. There's Dylan De Bono getting ahead of John Merritt, again for second place. These two have traded it back and forth a few times, and it's all lapped cars ahead of them as they break into the chase in this battle.
Just stick together, it seems, between these two and run around as they can. Because, not making inroads on Tom Freer still. In fact, if anything, Freer's actually been able to pull out a little bit of margin since this happened. And don't forget, Tom Freer has not come to the pits at all in this race still. It looks like Adrian Duke, unfortunately, has come a cropper somewhere on the lap and gone straight back to the pits.
If it stays wet like this, at this level of wetness, and the tyres don't fall away, Is Freya going to have to stop for fuel, irregardless? If there's no dry tyre crossover, can he make it another 30 minutes?
I'm just having a look now. I'm not seeing any information that says the fuel tank is limited. Hour and 45-minute race with a wet period slowing the race down, and also good 10 odd minutes behind an iRacing safety car. I'd have thought it would still be a bit of a stretch, but it might not be, I guess.
There is an unreasonably large tank in these cars as well. I think it's an 80-litre fuel cell when the road car is probably 50 or 55 litres. No one's making a Toyota 4-cylinder with an 80-litre petrol tank.
No, they're not. Well, I've just found the information.
If you want a Toyota with an outrageously large petrol tank, the Toyota Sora, aka SC300, was originally designed around the 4.3-litre V8, and then they, predominantly for the Japanese market, had the inline 6 2JZ as an option. And so it's got a fuel tank for a V8, but an inline 6 motor. So the fuel range on those is ridiculous, because it's the same fuel tank as the V8 model.
Well, the more you know. With thanks to David Haynes. There is one thing, yes, I just found it in the chat. I'll post it now for those of us watching on YouTube. That we are here supporting, and that's why I wanted to bring up Peter Wilkinson earlier. Yeah, the Locked On lads currently taking part in an event which is called the Shipbox Rally. Let's just see, how is Peter going? I hope he's still going out there. Yes, he is. Still out. A lap down, unfortunately, at this stage is the 268, but half an hour and change remaining to make it through this race. But the guys at the Locked On lads have been getting ready for this event, and driving from Melbourne to Alice Springs, and it's an event fundraising for the Cancer Council this year. They're currently 78% of the way to their donation goal, currently sitting at just shy of $3,900. So got that one there posted in the YouTube chat, guys, and I'll make sure to suggest it's also in the description on YouTube, and it should also be in the video description on Facebook afterwards as well. So watching around, make sure to give the guys at Locked On a bit of a hello. No, Peter!
No, he's gone nose into the wall a bit wide at Sulman Park there, McPhillamy Park, and got a little bit of the damp patch, and the water that's pooled up against the curb carries on, but he's done a number on that car.
Miraculously, it's not a mechanical black flag number.
So, Ben Miles has pitted.
For the first time in this race?
Yes. So he's gone 25 laps and then stopped and left the same pair of wet tyres on. Is this a sign of what Tom Freer might need to do shortly?
I would think so, yes.
Josh Barry, the 4, also pits in similar circumstances. There's a few cars pitting now that are not doing it because it's crossover. They're doing it to add some fuel. Although maybe Josh Barry will put new tyres on.
Maybe indeed. Right in front of the race leader! Oh no, Ira Feldberg goes around. Actually puts Tom Freer into a 360.
Drama for the race leader as a lapped car loops it in front of him, gives him a bit of a tag. I think he's going to carry on without too much damage, but it's a big chunk of time lost to Dylan De Bono in second, to John Merritt in third. Christensen, what tyres? Let me guess. No, this is still wet tyres.
But he's had a moment. Yeah, it's still wet, but he's had a moment. Across the top of the mountain through the grate. Unfortunately, the Vermilion drivers decided to drop like flies, whether they be on slicks or wets, it seems, with only a couple of them hanging on. In fact, last lap around it completely had an invalid lap as well. So tyre contents back up on the tower, but now quickly unpack those last two incidents here. So unfortunately for Ira Feldberg, just comes in by his lonesome, and the rear will get away. Yep, he just touched the painted line, which doesn't, and then just whoops. Around we go there, and completely separately for Christensen. I think the grey's going to get him here, either the puddle or the white line. What do we think? Or both?
Is that right where Freya was when we went on board with him and he had similar happen? Just
yes.
You lean on the tyres as you try to carry speed through that part, and eventually there's only so much grip there and only so much leaning on you can do. Freya has stayed out. DeBono and Merritt, both in the 246s now. So Merritt has the fastest lap that we've seen since the safety car. So if you started counting the fastest lap of the race since then, Merritt would also have it. But that still feels a couple seconds away from crossover, but it's getting close. DeBono and Merritt both finding quite a bit more speed on the lap just completed.
I'm starting to wonder now, that's been a spin with maybe a little bit of contact for Tom Freer and now an actual clip from another car. 7/10 down in the opening sector, long after he should have been able to recover his car. We're now starting to see some more long-standing and long-lasting issues for the 707 that might need to be rectified at a pit stop, as, my word, he hugs the wall and then some down the bottom of the hill. As I've been told, Dennis Hancock's had a moment, pointing my timing in, where is Dennis? Back in 16th place. Well, look at that again. Still faster across the top as Tom Freer. So I'll bring this back up when we get to the end of the lap to see how that gap's going. How's Dennis doing? Dennis looks to be okay here.
Well, that's good. 26 minutes left in the race, meaning vanishing chances of seeing dry tyres really get to do anything left in this race. Here's Kirk and Christensen, who we know lost a bit of time after that pit stop, but doesn't seem to have damaged the car, and will have no worries about fuel and keeping it flat chat to the end. While Kirk in front stopped under the safety car for new wet tyres, has a wobble on the exit, and it looks like Christensen will get nose ahead and get up to 10th.
And we've still got this sort of three-way fight for fourth place. Ewan Baker, though, starting to make tracks on Nathan Norman and Matthew Pluck in behind a little bit, as they all keep continuing to lap around here in these treacherous, it seems, conditions. As go back to the front of the
getting
field.
quicker though. Baker's into the 246s now. It's 247s from the drivers behind. There is less standing water, and that's Freer's line in these conditions, the race leader. I think if you had to stop now, you'd still put wets on.
Seems to be the case, yeah. Well, we're still too far away. It's barely progressing to make it work. All the drivers that have tried slicks, for the most part, have not been able to make succeed. Although, saying that, there's a couple of cars back here who are slowly working their way around. One of them being Adrian Duke, who's taking a bit of a gamble. In fact, he's actually the only one. 3 laps down on everyone. Still going, apart from Josh Barry, who I think unfortunately has dropped out or retired the car.
It's not quick, but it's no longer lethal, and that's an important distinction. Watch, I'll have gone and jinxed him, but...
Oh, up in front. Oh, 2 and 3. Find the grass at the chase. But that was Dennis Hancock and Jordan Dakin both. taking a bit of an excursion on their wet tyres into the centre. As here we go at the front of the field.
Only 2 seconds now. Tom Freer being caught by Dylan De Bono. John Merritt just a little bit further back. It's mega speed.
Oh, you can just hear the engine note difference. So unfortunately for Tom Freer, he is definitely struggling and suffering as now the combination of his own little spin, but I think primarily that contact with Ira Feldberg is really doing him in here after looking like he had a commanding run on things. De Bono's now just been given a bit of a golden opportunity, it seems, David.
So don't count out the fact that Tom Freer's tyres are now 28 laps old. They started on a wet track, and then they got raced pretty hard on a dry track past the crossover. Then it rained again. They went behind the safety car. They've been driven again in these wet conditions. But now at 245.7 from Dylan De Bono, it's starting to become a drying track that could overheat those old tyres now as well. And in a few other ways they haven't been treated so perfectly. So De Bono in the slipstream, heading up Mountain Straight towards Griffin's Bend, has to pick and choose, and he chooses around the outside. There's a car width, and De Bono goes left, gets his nose in front, and is going to look for the race lead around the outside of Griffin's Bend. He brakes later than Freer, he grips through the corner, and he powers out in the lead of this race with 22 minutes to go.
There we go. Making the change work nicely there as we come on up to the last couple of laps. It should probably only be more about like 7 or so laps perhaps at this stage. Actually, not quite, but 8 laps. Yeah, sorry, it'll be another 8 laps. No, no kidding. But my timing even estimates it on lap 29 out of a probable 38 laps. So that's actually that's a full kit of 10 at this rate. So if the pace improves slightly, that certainly would do it. Although if they come and think it's improved enough to go to wets, that would be the thing. So does Tom Freer now just hope, by all chance, that maybe we get a bit more of a bit of an increase to the rate of the track drying out, in which he can then be the first one to go to wets, perhaps. Oh, sorry, go from wets to dries, although out of shape down the S's there. Going to now be very much under threat from John Merritt.
There's a handful of other cars that are still in the same strategy bucket as Tom Freer as well, like Nathan Norman, Sean Doyle, Joseph Parkinson, who've all made no stops, taken no fuel, still on the same wet tyres they started the race on. Freer's looking pretty wounded, be it the tyres, be it the car, be it the fuel number. So now John Merritt looks like he's going to be able to line him up with relative confidence towards the chase and take second place away from Tom Freer, whose lead was once, may I remind you, almost as much as 25 seconds.
Yeah, he actually flew the white flag shortly after exiting the elbow and just basically said to John that it was all his, unfortunately, there. It's just waiting to see, are we close? But none of these drivers think so, as we're going to get to 20 minutes remaining as De Bono rounds the apex of Maurice's. Dennis Hancock has gone back to the pits. Unfortunately for him there, that looks like that might be worse. And looking at this example, one driver out there, on slick tyres. Yeah, that definitely says a lot there. If anything, that little twitch there says a lot too. There's Adrian Duke trying to make slicks work. He's nowhere close.
He's able to keep it together at a minimum. De Bono just did now the fastest lap we've seen since the safety car with the 245. So there was a while that they all stagnated at 249. And now the track is drying up, is getting quicker. Christensen gets down the inside of Joseph Parkinson for 8th place. And they have a lap down Tony Baker, I think, there.
Yes, they do actually. Good spot. That's a Pole Tube car, not a Kiwi sim racing machine. Hayden Kirk there would be sitting back here. Not so much by his lonesome, but a little bit more quiet. He does, though, have Sam Chapman that he's overtaken recently. Made his way on by to worry about there.
I could go for a block of Whitakers right about now on my Sunday afternoon. I wonder if that's sitting in the pantry of anyone else. Merritt leads, right? What's happened to De Bono?
Oh no, Dylan De Bono.
Dylan De Bono's had big dramas. Tom Freer's gone past him. He's lost 5 seconds, 6 seconds on this lap. De Bono has clearly come unstuck across the top of the mountain. Now John Merritt leads. We go to the replay for De Bono over the hill, heading down towards the dipper at speed. The rear steps out on him before he even arrives at the dipper, and he gets a nasty reverse entry.
Yeah, unfortunate there for the Velocity Sim Lab entry. Looks like he might have got away with it. Square on the bodywork of the left rear corner. He looks to have gotten away with it because he's now right back on the gearbox of Freer as the clock ticks down past 18 minutes towards 17 left. Still continue lapping in the 45s and 46s for our leaders here. So
Freer gets the outside tyre in the grass in the final corner, has a slide, and De Bono has a better run out towards the start-finish line, towards Hell Corner. He's down the inside, probably the preferred braking place as well, and he can come across and try to find traction up Mountain Straight. Slipstream will kick in, so you've got to be careful how you defend this, which line you want to cover off in De Bono's shoes. That lap, even with a checkup from John Merritt through the dipper, a 2:46. So they just keep chipping away slowly at the speed, but not in a way where you think, no, I've got to get to dry tyres right now. I think the way it sits right now, everyone will see this out on wets. Adrian Duke out the way for second and third, as De Bono holds on to that second.
Pardon me, they're just taking care of some things here. Just trying to keep also tabs on where might things come out to play as I switch over the timing tower from gap to interval. And look here, that Pluck and Norman might be our next battle to watch out for. This spot here.
Christensen.
And then same. Doyle,
Christensen gets ahead of Doyle on the way into Griffin's Bend.
Powell up the hill, and looks like the 25 will carry on to fight another day, although unfortunately for Jamie, 20 seconds up the road to even think about trying to get to Nathan Norman or Matthew Pluck, so that might be a bit of a wishful quest to that one there.
Do you have that graphic that shows the pit stops and the stint lengths from
I certainly can.
Indy? Because you've got 3 different strategies from your top 3 cars. John Merritt started the race on dry tyres, went to wets under safety car. Dylan De Bono started on wets, went to new wets under safety car. Tom Freer started this race on wet tyres, has not stopped. So it should show red for John Merritt, but it doesn't, because he started on dries, 12 laps on dries, then went to wet tyres. De Bono started on wets, stayed on wets. That is your race leader, John Merritt, negotiating a tiny bit of traffic with 15 minutes to go.
Yes, unfortunately it doesn't give the distinction on the compound like it might do for the IndyCar here on iRacing, so that might be one for me to pass on and be like, could we get a little bit of an update on that one to show the difference, please, guys? Because the overlays here seem to do a pretty good job of being able to figure out what tyre the driver is on.
Yeah, the data's available through the API, so it would be possible with the right system to generate the graphic with the correct information. Whether it's easy, I can never say. I always hesitate to say it should be easy when I don't actually know how the system works, but all the data is theoretically available. In the 244s for Dylan De Bono, so he's not out of this race. He could still come back 3 seconds behind John Merritt and the fastest car on track at the moment. Pluck and Norman have both got speed, as they are going to put a little bit of lapping on here as well, heading up Mountain Straight. They're both in the 245.7s last lap. 245.3 for Ewan Baker. We've been tempted. We thought, is there going to be a crossover to dry tyres? I thought we were predicting it, and it just hasn't progressed quick enough with the shade over the top of the mountain and the air and track temperatures.
Yeah, I think critically it's that track temperature that's just refusing to budge from 15 degrees here at Bathurst today. It's just slowed down the rate at which we transition from wets back to dries. And yeah, despite all of this non-rain running, because yeah, funnily enough, I was actually in a race this morning at Suzuka where the track went from over 30 degrees in dry conditions to under 15. It actually went down as low as I think 13 I saw when it was properly pouring. But then rapidly, as soon as the rain ended, track temperature shot straight back up to 15, up past 30 degrees, and we went back to dries probably within no more than 40 minutes since it had started raining. And it was a proper rain for a good half an hour. It was solid. So that track temperature really playing in, well, just the general weather elements playing their part here today. As, oh, that's loose for Pluck over the top into the elbow.
Sure is exciting to watch. De Bono's now within 2 seconds of John Merritt and the race lead. With 12 minutes to go. De Bono's got insane speed right now. He was maybe a little too confident into the dipper earlier on. That's what cost him the race lead. But it's not cost him a chance to still fight for the victory heading towards the end of Ozicar Tin Top Cup Enduro, the first of 3 races in this format this year. Make sure you get to Ozicar.net, the Ozicar Discord. Check it all out. And this one, I think, is going to be grandstand all the way to the end. What are the lap times looking like now? 2:44 flat from De Bono.
The thing is now, though, I think, unfortunately for these drivers, they're getting to a point in the race where it's like, okay, we're getting there, but we're going to get there too late to make any benefit, because you go in, you lose all the time. If someone you're racing goes, you know what, I'll just stay out and take the pain as the tyres warm up and the lack of rain or water on the track to keep them cool when it happens. I wouldn't be too surprised if it just works out the case that it's easier to just stay out on wets here, even if the lap times don't really improve past, say, 39 or past 41 or a 240. Even though you could go faster, you're not going to have, like, because we're down to now apparently 6 laps to go here at estimate. That's not enough time to get to dries, get to the crossover point, and then make your time back.
And poor Adrian Duke out there on the dry tyres while surviving is not making a great case for them with a last lap of 2:59. And that's some of the previous laps there where oh no, he's still not making a great case for it. Oh dear, I'm sorry.
Apparently we should never say a thing about anyone at any time when it comes down to...
The following race is presented without comment.
Yeah, maybe I'll just click buttons and that way it's just a silent film. Well, not silent necessarily, but...
1 second for the race lead here. De Bono's being strong across the top. He was strong in the final sector last lap as we had a look at that, and both of them are really starting to lean into it where the grip is at. It's right up against the wall on the exit of the elbow, apparently, for De Bono, who will be within slipstream range inside the final 10 minutes. Over the crest, under the sign, towards the chase. More speed in the order of about 2 kilometers an hour for De Bono. Where the grip's at, where the water's puddling. De Bono stands a very, very good chance with a number of laps still to go, with the kind of speed he's had closing in John Merritt. But what he cannot afford is another mistake like he had when he was leading that cost him the race lead.
Once again, Yeah, it's just like just in the nick of time. We're getting to the point where if you're willing to gamble, you can make it work. But then time is your enemy, not so much the change of the tyres. So Tom Freer, unfortunately, is going to have to just soldier on, it seems, and hope that maybe he doesn't drop outside. Oh, what now? The top 6 is probably what he's going to have to be hoping for at this stage.
2:43 last lap there from Zabono, but you see he's still not using the dry line through Griffin's Bend there, and that suggests we're still a while away on the tyres, if we're honest with ourselves. We're just going to have to duke it out in this fashion to the end for the race win. Merritt will need to be cool under pressure. Zabono has the speed, but he also needs to not make a mistake.
Afraid to get out over the painted line on the entry to the grate, and again over the painted lines on entry to McPhillamy here. Just have to dodge the apex curb there and not run too wide, else you do that and you end up in some puddles across the very top of the mountain here. So for someone like DeBono, that's not that much of a problem.
A little bit of traffic to come up for John Merritt approaching the elbow, hopefully down Conrod Straight. This can all be dealt with. He has a wiggle on his way in. DeBono goes to a tight line, has a wiggle on the exit. There's grip to be found out there, but it's still a bit of a guessing game, a little bit of a try it out and see. And of course, what the best line is moves lap to lap in these dynamic conditions.
Bit of negotiation with lap traffic over the in-game radio there. And DeBono just going to leave it screaming off the red line in 5th rather than grab 6th.
Gets huge slide there from Merritt. DeBono closed a lot on him that time around. We can start to be certain this time around how many laps are going to be left in this race. It's definitely going to be 3 more now. 3 more racing laps.
It'll be a 38 lap affair here today in our opening Tin Top Enduro Cup race of the year. 86 is putting on a show as both of our top 2 throwing it in. Oh, pardon me. Let's grab that one there. Merritt finally finding some speed, but it's come at a time as DeBono is now very much in the slipstream range, David, so this is going to be interesting here as they work their way up the hill one more time. Well, 3 more times.
You work it, how you make it happen. Will there come a time that DeBono thinks he could get down the inside of Griffin's there? Both of them a lot closer to the apex than previous, and there's plenty of other battles happening out here as well, like Doyle, Parkinson, and Hayden Kirk.
Whoa!
Is that Kirk having a little ride out there?
It was.
Just pushes a little wide, and then of course the grass is extra slippery when it's raining. DeBono and Merritt are side by side for the race lead. DeBono's gotten ahead. DeBono leads.
Just like that. Swing around the outside there at the top of the hill, because apparently it's what he needed to be doing.
So out of the cutting, way better traction for DeBono. He's all over Merritt. He feels the need to defend, but in doing so puts him off where the grip is at. Side by side over the top of the mountain there. A tough place to make a pass in any conditions, let alone with puddles of water with a wet, cold track out there. DeBono gets to the race lead from John Merritt, and they are 14 seconds clear of anyone else. And Freer in 3rd. Ewan Baker catching him by more than 2 seconds last lap. And there is still 2 more laps to go. At this rate, Baker could still be on the podium if Freer is injured or needs to save too much fuel.
Yeah, over that one there, averaging over 2 seconds a lap. Unfortunately, I think for Tom Freer, he will be well in range either at the end of the next lap or early on for the last lap, as Nathan Norman and Matthew Pluck go, well, I was going to say duking it out, but Norman with the slipstream will clear Pluck before they hit the anchors for the chase on this occasion. The 96 will get ahead to P5.
Anchors are what you need in conditions like this, so it's all on inside of the top 10, where the leaders are still separated by nothing. John Merritt's a very experienced and wise cat, and he's got the slipstream up the hill here to still force De Bono to have to defend, still force De Bono to pick. Do I cover the inside? Do I cover the outside? Where's the grip at? Eventually he makes the move to cover the inside, which lets Merritt get around the outside. They're almost going to make a bit of contact here. Another switcheroo heading up the hill into the braking zone. Merritt tries to take the conventional dry line. Not so good on the way in. Doesn't have good traction on the way out. And De Bono holds on to the lead through all of that gap, still shrinking between Freer and Baker.
Yeah, that looks to be now inside of a lap. It's difference for third. You also still got Matthew Pluck trying to hang on, and he's hanging on to the back of Nathan Norman here as they round Griffin's Bend. So this battle for fifth is not done yet, folks. We'll have to check in with it. And we've also got Doyle and Kirk have dispatched of Joseph Parkinson, and it's going to be a two-way fight for eighth. So we have these three battles will soon be four, we think, in the top 10. And that's still plenty decided, but look at this over the top. The gap was 1/10 at Griffin's. It's now over 8 as they come down the S's here, David.
Yeah, of course, the slipstream Mountain Straight, slipstream Conrod Straight does a lot for you, but it's across the top of the mountain in the second sector that De Bono's clearly got quite a bit more speed. He gets to almost a second ahead of John Merritt. He needs just a little more than that, though, for to be complete. Kirk and Doyle.
Got very interesting as drags Joseph Parkinson back to a second and a half off of Doyle. And then the Norman versus Pluck duel as well. Just over a lap to go. Who wants to be leading on the final lap with Mountain and Conrod Straights to come? I get the feeling the answer is no one, but someone's going to have to in that situation. As De Bono's in a little deep at the chase. Does he get it pulled up? Yes. And according to that, actually made something out of it for himself.
Yeah, I mean, it looks risky, but I think that's the way that we've seen the quick guys going, is that the rear just brings them in. And characteristic of a wet tyre is always that it's going to give grip at a little bit more slip angle than a dry tyre will. We're starting the final lap. Dylan De Bono leads from John Merritt, less than 1 second to take out the first Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup. You've got to survive the mountain. 6.2 more kilometres.
Here we go for this final venture. Look at it there. Once again on that last lap is we inch ever closer to what would have been the transition. There's a bit more chatter on it. It's Nathan Norman.
I know, he's pitted from 6th. Does he not have the fuel for one more lap? Is that the question? Is that where the pace has gone for Tom Freer? And if it has, Ewan Baker is now within 2 seconds of him on this final lap. How well has Freer managed it? Has Nathan Norman mismanaged it?
Maybe John Snell, also having tried to go without stopping in this race, is in the lane as well. So we might be seeing here. So the question is Tom Freer's damage meant that he's burning less fuel? Well, given he's committed, I would presume so. As De Bono and Merritt have cleared lap traffic in the form of Ira Feldberg. And now press on for half a lap here across the top before we make our way back down.
As the track's dried up over the last half an hour, the per lap fuel consumption probably would have gone up as well if you're factoring that into your calculations. If Merritt can stay close here and it can be within a couple of tenths coming off the elbow, he still stands a chance in this race. This is the part of the lap traditionally, though, where De Bono's got a little bit more confidence and a little bit more speed than him. He takes it out to 7 tenths, maybe a little bit more by the time they exit the elbow. Merritt's giving it all. He has a wiggle through the change of direction as he's off throttle through the brakes. Now looking to get perfect traction off the elbow. He might still be a little too far back. You'd want to be closer than this.
Starts making some gains, but yeah, it seems like unfortunately it's going to be not enough to make it work. I'm actually surprised Tom Freer is still over 1.7 ahead of Ewan Baker, as in fact the gap opens up slightly down the hill. So Freer throwing it down the mountain with abandon, it seems, as there you go, Merritt gains about 0.3 on Dylan DeBono, but I don't think that was going to be enough. We've got one final braking zone to negotiate here before we can call it. In saying that, there's going to be a Herculean dive if it comes. And it looks like the answer is no. So I think we can say here with confidence, David, Dylan DeBono can round Murray's Corner for the final time tonight. And he will be the first winner of the Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup here in 2024.
Great battle between DeBono and Merritt. Freer comes towards the final corner with Ewan Baker in his mirrors. He made no stops across the hour 45 minutes. Tom Freer will finish third. Baker not having enough speed for him on the final lap to grab fourth. And Pluck is fifth place out the final corner.
And unfortunately, that looks like that's going to be about it for our battles on the road. We've got... No. Oh, unfortunately for Joseph Parkinson, looks like he's found the fence at some point. On this final lap, he was now resigned to 13th. Looks like as they make their way down the hill, you've got 1.2 between Sean Doyle and Ben Miles. No! We pick another driver up, but it seems that...
Ben Miles come through to ninth. Sean Doyle will probably get around before Luke Turner or Sam Chapman arrives.
That's Turner right there. No, Luke Turner will go through. Oh, that's out of fuel.
Doyle's out of fuel. Doyle had no pit stops made either. And with that spin, he's run out of fuel. And he's going to coast it to the checkered flag. So with fuel, I think he would have stayed ahead of Luke Turner. But that's a problem for him. Chapman has made it past Parkinson.
Same for Sam Chapman and Joseph Parkinson, maybe both of them, but they will get across the line and make it to the end of this race. And there's only a few drivers remaining now before we can call this one done. But yeah, Dylan DeBono, look at that there. Having had that mid-race, that pit stop under the safety car, he's happy to keep on burning as they make their way down the hill here.
Of the race from Jamie Christensen was a 2:41.8. So there's a world where 15 more minutes on the clock, people like Freer would have stopped and put dry tyres on. It's interesting to think about. We were right at that crossover towards the end, but without enough time left in the race for anyone to go that direction.
Also, before we go to the results, shout out looks to be Ben Miles making up 19 positions today. And nope, he will literally just depart on us there, but if we put that up here, yeah, biggest mover of the race today, so able to keep his nose clean. And with just one car left to go around the final turn, it looks like we should be in a second safe to court, and that we can now indeed.
Just dropped
Joseph Parkinson, I think I just saw. But no, he's in rough positions where he should be, so...
Okay.
Yeah, a little confusing there too, but seemed to be about right all the same.
Right. So this is the results after an hour 45 minutes of racing in the Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup around a soaking wet Mount Panorama. Dylan DeBono just 0.4 ahead of John Merritt. Tom Freer managing the fuel, managing the tyres, managing the damage to go no stops to third place. Ewan Baker couldn't catch him, finishes fourth from Pluck in fifth. Christensen also no stopping to sixth place, and then Hayden Kirk, Ben Miles, Luke Turner, and Sean Doyle as the top 10. Sam Chapman, Joseph Parkinson, and Nathan Norman just behind them there. Last cars on the lead lap, Shane Ratcliffe and Douglas Gowans. It was super tough out there. Jordan Dakin, Tony Baker, John Snell, Leon Williams, Dennis Hancock, all the lap down. Same for Mark Bowman, and then 2 laps down, Ira Fellerberg and Peter Wilkinson. Adrian Duke finishing 24th. Probably the most laps done on dry tyres of anyone. Not the quickest laps, though. And then Joshua Barry, Ryan Price, Ben Faulkner, Brady Baldwin, Ryan Carlson, Daniel Fritz into retirement territory here, with Alina Dan, Caleb Dawson, Jacob Vickery, and Lachlan Thomas.
And that will just about do us here today. Just waiting to see if we get a couple of people to finish up. Looks like we do have ourselves the first of our drivers, David, to make it home on the podium today. So I'll get it queued up here and we'll chat to Tom Freer first and perhaps work our way up from the back of the queue, or back of the order, I should say, with these interviews here this afternoon. As we welcome Tom into the box. Unfortunate there, Tom, today it seems for you in the 707, at least towards the end, but great bit of dueling at the start there with as you guys managed the damp to wet back to damp conditions, it seems, today.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Like, that first stint was good fun to watch, and then obviously John's pace when it dried out was absolutely mega. I'm not sure if he started on a slick or something, but he was, I think it was like 5 seconds a lap faster. But yeah, it's just one of those racing deals. I think strategy-wise, I was on top of it. I think absolutely nailed it. And I think at one point I was out to like a 21-second lead, and I was just managing my fuel. Obviously had a bit of a moment up the top. Just clipped one of those white lines, skimmed the fence, but no harm done. And that gap went to about 10 seconds. And yeah, we were just, you know, holding our own, saving fuel, looking after it. And then, yeah, unfortunately, Ira had a moment at Forest Elbow, and yeah, center punched our rear wheel, which bent the rear of the car. And then, yeah, just with tweaked steering, I made a big mistake down the hill, and yeah, just turned it into a esky in the end. But somehow we hung on the third.
Yeah, and at one point I was wondering how far down it would end up being, but still ends up on the podium all the same. And yeah, from our data at the start of the race, it did look like John was on the slick and just had to brave it out for the first 4 or 5 laps before it went back his way. But then, of course, all sort of neutralised a little bit by the safety car as the rain sort of came down properly, though there are a few drivers who got caught out and were trying to limp around. Even saying that, at the front of that queue, watching John, they're trying to handle safety car speeds here on a slick and barely able to make it work.
Yeah, that was, I must admit, I was having a giggle. When you're doing 20 kilometers an hour and you're completely sideways, that looks pretty scary. So the fact he hung onto that thing and got it into the pits without a drama is a miracle in itself. So I think that's a credit to him. It shows he can obviously hang on to it and have the car control not to crash. But yeah, it was pretty funny from where I was sitting.
Well, it's the first of 3 for these Tin Top Enduro Cups now done and dusted for this year. Next one's scheduled for some time to be confirmed in July, actually around the Nürburgring. And also, the car may change depending on if we get additions to the service in terms of what have wet tyres. But all in all, will you be hoping to get back for Tin Top Cup Enduro Cup number 2 when that rolls around? And given the fact the challenge, well, we don't know for certain if it's going to be, say, an Nordschleife or something, whether it's just Nürburgring GP, but the general sort of event as it's been and the like, how that might look to you at this case?
Yeah, obviously, if I can race, I will. Usually I work on a Sunday. I'm just lucky that I had today off, so obviously could come racing. But if the time prevails and I can actually turn up and race, I'll definitely be there. I like this series. I like what they do, and you know, I like the fact they're a little bit different and they provide us with different challenges. So it's always good to keep your eye in for other stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, there we have it. Before we let you go, Tom, for third place today, who do you want to thank for helping you get it done at the 707?
Thanks to Brady for being my spotter at the end. Obviously, he had some dramas and then just came along for the ride. And obviously, SSR, we somehow dug pretty deep in the bin and found a setup that would work. So, yeah, just thanks to them, and obviously thanks to you guys and Ozicar for putting on a good event for us.
Well, there we are. Thank you very much. Tom Freer, third place today, despite some of the trials and tribulations towards the end. David, good to hear from him there to finish up. As we'll grab our second place driver, and I'll hand to you to chat to John Merritt in the number 64.
Second place finisher John Merritt's going to join us. You were definitely a brave man in that first stint. Was it a calculated risk or a bit of a Hail Mary with the dry tyres to start it off?
I don't know, brave or silly, David. Certainly had a few moments in the first...
Brave if it works, silly if it doesn't.
Yeah, a few moments in that first 10 laps, but... look, I think probably a wet tyre strategy to start was best given how the race played out, but honestly haven't probably done enough running in these intermediate conditions to sort of follow the track and trend what it's going to do. So it was a flip a coin and go one of the ways, and when we joined the grid we went, oh no, but we didn't have time to probably make the swap.
And then, up and down through the field at points in time, at one point sort of 20 seconds away from the race lead and catching the race lead, then you were race leader, and then De Bono coming back at you in the final stint. Pretty exciting one for you.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Dylan did a great job, and I just found it interesting, probably the variance in the setups, in the very much drying conditions. Dylan's car was epic across the top. My car was probably a bit stronger at the bottom of the mountain, so it was some great, enjoyable racing. I felt as it was drying more, I needed another 2 or 3 laps would have made it interesting, but all credit to him. Excellent result.
Well, you had a couple of teammates out there as well. Some advice, some learnings. How does that work out?
Yeah, I think some learnings. I think Luke really hasn't hardly run in the wet, and none of us have. That was my second wet race, so yeah, some good learnings and some good setup learnings. There's probably not a lot of variance for these cars. Just throw wet tyres on them and go, but there are no doubt some tweaks that will work out as time goes, David.
If the track had dried a lot quicker, where were you seeing the crossover to dry tyres?
Just from the practice into quali, I said to the teammates, I thought it was a 2:45 was the crossover point, and ultimately we were probably a bit better than that in the last couple of laps, but clearly you wouldn't have given up that track position to pit. So I think if your game it was 2:45, and anything under 2:40 was certainly dry tyres.
Well, with your brave gamble to kick off the start of the race, you come away with the fastest lap of the race because it never got that quick again after the rain.
Yeah, that was probably a highlight of starting on dries, and a little bit of reward for effort in those first few laps, but was certainly fairly dicey the first, as I said, 5 or 10 laps.
And then coming around to catch the safety car in the rain.
I wasn't going to mention that. I'm hoping the stream didn't catch it. Coming around to catch the safety car with dries was scary stuff. And then as I transitioned to the wet tyres, I think I had a little moment at the elbow. So, just expected more grip than there was.
It's so exciting to watch these races, and just the changeable nature. You're all of you kept on your feet, reacting to the conditions, reacting to what the other drivers do. So I hope it's challenging and rewarding to drive, because it's super fun to watch.
Oh, it is. It is. I hope that, I think it serves a broadcast for those changeable conditions, and, throws the field about, and we get some different leaders, which is good, and it makes a new challenge. I think that's the best part. We can all go and run on dry tyres and sort of send it, but this makes the racing interesting. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
We'll see you for plenty more Ozicar, I'm sure. Congrats on the great race, John.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Daniel Yeaman, one more person left for us to speak with.
Yes, there is indeed. Hopefully he's been able to make his way to join us here. And yes, Dylan De Bono is waiting for us now as we bring in our race winner for this afternoon's opening Endurance Tin Top Cup. And it was a bit of back and forth between yourself and John Merritt, Dylan, but able to get it done there in the end with some excellent pace in the final stages of the race. But still a bit of a handful out there with the changing conditions.
Yeah, mate. Obviously starting the race off well with the pole. just then had a small incident with one of the drivers into the last corner and got turned around, went to 12th, and then just slowly stayed consistent with my times, minimal mistakes, and then sort of just got me to the front, and I had that big moment through the dipper and had a spin, and I thought my race was over there, to be honest with you. But yeah, just awesome race there.
And what was it like, I guess, like there? Because of course the start damp back towards dry meant that John Merritt behind you there and able to get through to the front as he gambled on a set of slicks to start the race off, which worked out in the end for a period. But then, of course, getting bunched up behind the safety car there and closing the pits for a lap meant it sort of forced you all into a bit of a reset, at least for those who chose to come in and take pit stops such as yourself.
Yeah, man, it was really weird. Like, I sort of knew the track was going to dry out pretty fast because I heard, or I obviously noticed that there was a lot of cars on the track that's going to dry out faster. But even once it was fully dry, you know, there was a pretty big pace difference to John when he was on the slick. But I just kept going along with it, and I did my pit stop, and then I noticed I was pretty far back. I was like, oh, this can't be good. But yeah, just stayed with it, and yeah, it's good fun.
Well, it's the first of our 3 events for the Ozicar Tin Top Enduro Cup. The next one will be here in July and heading off to the Nürburgring of some variation. Will we hope to see you back out on circuit for that next of these enduro races?
Yeah, mate, of course. This is my first season back with Ozicar after a while, and I love what Ira does and the team back at Ozicar, what they do with their racing.
Well, floor's all yours, Dylan. Who do you want to thank for helping you get the win today here in this opening Tin Top Enduro Cup race?
Just like to thank Velocity Sim Lab. You know, we're all putting in the effort in these new track editions and relatively new cars. Haikoki Power Tools, Here to Race YouTube channel. Ira and his team at Ozicar for putting on the league and the racing. You guys at SimSpeed for broadcasting it, and yeah, hopefully be back for next week.
Well, look forward to seeing you then in that case. And that'll do us for our interviews here, David, meaning we can now get ready to turn our attention towards the next of these Tin Top Enduro Cups. And as I mentioned there to Tom Freer and Dylan De Bono both, we're heading off to Germany in the Nürburgring in some fashion come July for the second of these Enduros, although still waiting to confirm the exact date. And depending on the exact date, we might also see different cars if there are more vehicles available with rain tyres by that time.
It feels like a certainty that the chefs at iRacing are cooking up a couple more wet compound tyres for a couple more types of cars. There are some ones that feel relatively probable with the success we've had with GT3 cars, with IMSA cars, with the GR86 as well. So we look forward to what will come in the future of iRacing and what will come in the future of Ozicar with the Tin Top Enduro Cup, but also the Monday night Tin Top action aplenty as well. So keep abreast of everything that's happening for SimSpeed TV, because there's lots of great Ozicar action to come.
Indeed, and well, that'll do us for today. Congratulations once again to Dylan De Bono for taking the win around the mountain this afternoon, and big thanks again there to Ozicar for hosting the event, but also to the No Social Hate campaign, the Sim Racing League's team, the Locked On Lads boys, as well as Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving for their support of Ozicar here. My name is Daniel Gaiman, along with David Haynes. Thank you for watching us here on SimSpeed TV, and look forward to seeing you back for our next broadcast, or whenever you may join us next. Until then, have a good one, and take care.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.